weekly recap. This week, not really going to be going over any of the 5 minute gap and displacement trades because this week there was like a total of like actual one. Like there was one trade. I'll go over that, sure, but like I'm not dropping down to the 1 minute basically this whole time because I'm gonna be going over the 5 minute inverse strategy that I've been looking at, right? So let me get ES over real quick. Okay, so where are we? Where are we? Okay, we're here. All right, so just looking at this, right? We sweep this high. We sweep a high on ES. Only gap here gets inversed. Stops at the highs. TP right here. Easy, right? Still longer term, we're bullish though, so we're waiting for some sort of flip. We do inverse this 5, and it does end up playing out here, but it's also PM session. It's choppy. Towards the end of PM session, though, um, again, this is chop, so nothing you really should be taking. But what we have is you have an SMT at these lows, an SMT, we're inside of a gap, and where do we inverse it? We inverse it at this candle. Stops to be at the bottom there, and TP right there. Easy. Um, bullish, right? We're bullish. We come into an imbalance, we inverse it, and you take it to the highs, 1 to 1. Come into an imbalance. I mean, you get displacement. Oh no, you do inverse a 5 minute right there, and then you take it to the highs. Then what do? We sweep out liquidity. I'm sure we're in some sort of high time frame gap, and we inverse these. Hold on, let me just take that off. We inverse these. I'm not even gonna count that, but we inverse this gap and this gap. Pretty sure there's like a 10 minute gap there, but everything's inverse in that leg. You take it to these lows, boom. Now, again, we're bullish, right? We sweep liquidity. We are inside of a some sort of imbalance, I'm guessing, or there's an SMT or something. But yeah, I mean, this is super clean actually. Hold on. Yeah, so we're inside of a gap. We sweep liquidity, and then we reverse. Inverse that gap perfectly, in my opinion. Take it to those highs. Stops down here. You go break even at these highs, and yeah, you're chilling. And what do we do again? Right? We're bullish. We sweep liquidity. We're inside of a gap, and we inverse the gap. This one actually you would have gotten stopped out on. Actually, hold on. I want to see what the 1 minute was looking like because this is kind of crazy that you got stopped out on this. Yeah, you want to see this inverse basically. With that displacement, bro, that would be your entry, right? Stops on here. TP, these highs. Honestly, that's a loss I'll take any day of the week. That's a good loss in my opinion. Um, yeah, honestly, I'm really surprised that that didn't play out. We swept all that out. There's no displacement below this low. We're inside of the imbalance, and then we get this bullish reaction out of it. I'm sure this is gonna bring us up. Yeah. Huh. That is interesting, actually. So it's not foolproof, apparently. This, hold on. Where am I getting at, bro? Yeah. So no matter how A plus a setup is, it can definitely still fuck you because that would have fucked me. I'm still in 1 minute. Fuck. Okay. All right. So that's one L, but that is a very good trade in my opinion. I'm fine with that. Um, because we get something like this again. It's the same exact setup. We sweep liquidity. We're inside of a gap. and we inverse a 5-minute gap. You take it to those highs, super clean, right? Right here, you get a SMT at these highs. I'm sure you sweep some sort of liquidity or you're inside of a gap. If it's none of those and you don't take this trade, obviously. But we put SMT, so we sweep liquidity. We have divergence. Um, I just rather there be high time frame liquidity. I don't mark it out yet, but like I don't know. Let's actually, yeah, I can see on the 5-minute. See if we, yeah, we swept the high. Okay, so we swept the high, create an SMT, and then we inverse this gap right here. Stops at that high, and you take it to 1-to-1. Bang. Obviously, you can't enter on that inverse. It's pretty bad. Pre-market just chopping around. We sweep liquidity. We inverse the gap. We go lower to these lows. Boom. Again, you can't enter on that off of that inverse, but this might have been a good reaction off the 5. But that was also pre-market, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, it was like right at market open, so wouldn't take that. This one, we sweep liquidity. We're inside of a gap. And then we inverse this gap right there with strong displacement. And it does eventually hit, but I probably would have been break even when it, wicked down here because we shouldn't go back and fill that gap at that point. Um, so yeah, that's a break even trade. Sweep, we're bullish, right? So we sweep below, and then we inverse this gap and you take it to the highs. I mean, it's pretty simple, man. You just wait for a gap tap, a liquidity sweep too, if you can. SMT is optional, and then a 5-minute inverse. Um, this would have worked out too, right? You inverse all these 5 minutes. We're going to this low. You go break even at this low. Actually, you got break even. Actually, no, that already swept it out, so that would be invalid. Um, but it did end up playing out. Honestly, I like this flip, but the problem is we just chopped afterwards. But it did actually end up playing out off of that flip. Stops probably down here, take it to those highs. Ends up playing out after through all that chop. This one can't enter off of that inverse. Doesn't close good, but we sweep a high, and I'm sure we're in another balance. Pretty sure that was the weekly opening gap or something, and then we displace lower from that. Again, we're still bullish, higher time frame, right? We inverse all of these gaps after sweeping all the lows, and we end up hitting TP. This is an super obvious flip too. Like this is like we're going higher no matter what. Not no matter what, but you know what I mean. So originally it would be 2.5 RR, but ES does sweep that high, so you would be out at least some of your position, like at least half your position at 1.889, and the rest of break even. Honestly, I probably would just take out then because 1.89 R is still good RR. Retrace to a 5-minute gap, sweep below, and we inverse the gap. Take to the high. Boom. Um, okay, sweep below, we come from a fair value gap, and then we inverse the gap. This one would have been a break even, but again, it ends up hitting. So, and then yeah, there's that. There's nothing on here. But like, yeah, reversal patterns, it's pretty obvious. You sweep out some sort of liquidity, preferably. And if you're not, you're retracing into a higher time frame gap, at least a 5-minute, maybe a 15-minute. Odds you getting a 5-minute gap tap with a 5-minute inverse are pretty low, in my opinion. It would probably be more likely to get a 15-minute gap tap with a 5-minute inverse. But like even though we were bullish long term, there was a lot of short setups that ended up playing out and that I should have confidence in because if we're sweeping a high we don't displace above it, and there's some sort of imbalance that we just filled, and then we inverse a 5 minute, we're going to a lower target. Now, obviously maybe not the lowest point of the range, but at least to another fair value gap or something, so you can like kind of scalp it, I guess, on the 5 minute. 5 minutes really not scalping. Um, but yeah. Um, yeah, that's that. I guess that's it. Gonna get back to my Excel work. Yay! Haha. So fun.